when I was a kid, again, there were 5 of us, and we would go for walks along long deserted logging roads that wound their way into the hemlock forest that surrounded Aberdeen. And we would imagine that we were pioneers, explorers, that were the first humans that had ever been on these roads. And contradiction in terms, I suppose, but you know, I've always sort of wanted to be an explorer. And when I went to Cornell, Bob Richardson gave a talk on a new refrigeration technology that gave the promise of allowing man to look at nature in a new and different realm. And I wanted to be one of the people. And that was when I decided I would go into low temperature physics. So I went in with the idea that there would be some excitement associated with it and everything. But my 5th year of graduate study, the experiment I was doing turned out it was based on some what appeared to be very exciting work by one of our competitors. And when I went in to first reproduce that and then go beyond it, we found that work was all wrong, and that the actual effect was easily calculated. And I kept looking for small deviations from the existing theory, and what I like to say is if I'd continued on that experiment, I probably would be a taxi cab driver in New York City or something like that. But luckily one day there were 2 other students that had patiently been waiting for the only NMR iron core electromagnet in the lab, so high enough homogeneity and stability to do NMR. And eventually they went to Dave Lee and Bob Richardson, and they sort of agreed that I had to relinquish this magnet, which I'd been monopolizing for 3 months. And so it was only after that that I did a curiosity-driven experiment, which in fact gave the first evidence that we'd seen a new phase transition. Now, the refrigeration technology was a mixture of liquid and solid helium-3, and we didn't know whether the phase transition that this curve that we saw was giving evidence of was in the liquid or the solid. And the first publication we made, we were wrong. I mean, all the data was correct, but the interpretation was all wrong. We'd said it was all in the solid, but it wasn't. But you know, I wasn't. You know, this was exactly what I felt I'd been born for, and I wasn't going to just stop. So I kept trying to come up with better and better ways of probing what was going on inside this mixture at this very, very low temperature where one couldn't see what was happening.
It took a few years, though, until you got the prize, and you moved on.
Only a few years, at 24 or something like that, yes.